business journalism world. We all know each other. Yeah. Why do you come here? Yeah.
God bless you. chaos beforehand, last 8, chaos in the hours on Hunter, chaos during it. Close down, living standards aren't going to rise slower than expected. We're meant to be ready for our energy levels are up by 250 quid. This is chaos. This is the last hurrah.
Do you think today will make it more or less likely the SNP will win up in Scotland next year?
Will solidify the fact that there's a
So I looked on the website, TV News. I could hardly believe it was true. As a little posting through Malibu, with flowers inside. I don't know what to do. The train was passing and everyone was between the energy behind the sea. The flowers.
Nice accompaniment.
Just like both of us awkward.
Good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Quite cool, isn't it?
Well, it's definitely Scotland potentially quick.
You recovered from spark from G20?
Just about. Yeah, just about. How about you as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good news.
Hi Stephen, how are you?
I'm very well, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Just move this up.
Cool.
Ah, it's not, man.
Oh, you're used to it, yeah.
It's a
Cool.
10, it's 10 degrees warmer than back home. The shorts and t-shirt rather.
Oh, yeah. Can I just get your name and title first for the quick time?
Yes, Stephen Flynn, SNP leader at Westminster.
So Stephen, thanks for talking to us. Can I just get your initial reaction to that budget statement?
I mean, it was chaos. It's been chaos for the last few weeks and months with all the speculation. It was chaos when the budget kind of landed on all our laps in the hour before. And it was chaos during it because what Rachel Reeves stood up and said was that living standards are going to rise slower than expected, growth's going to fall, and of course energy bills are going to continue to rise, contrary to Labour's election promise, and contrary to what the Chancellor seemed to be very confidently saying in the chamber there today. That chaos is a broken promise from the Labour Party. They promised change, they promised to end all of this. It's been more of the same. This is the most unpopular Chancellor in post-war Britain, as I understand, sat beside the most unpopular Prime Minister in post-war Britain. And when the SNP win the elections in Scotland next May, I would suggest that there's going to be new incumbents in both those roles.
You mentioned there the chaos of the AVR report breaking 2 hours before the actual statement. What was that moment like in the chamber? What was the reaction from people around you?
I think someone shouted out when Rachel stood up just to flick to the end, because we'd all read it on various social media platforms already. But look, it's just symptomatic of this government. People would say they can't catch a break, but they can't make one because of their own indecision and lack of purpose and clarity in terms of what it is that they're wanting to do. And when you come out trying to really save your political skin, as the Chancellor and the Prime Minister are doing, and you are cementing in the reality of growth falling, living standards not rising by the level that they were expected to, and energy bills still increasing, you're not going to survive. And there's an inevitability about what's coming for them, and that's going to come to fruition when the SNP win the election in Scotland in May.
So what would you have wanted to see in that budget? What measures would you have liked the Chancellor to have announced?
Look, what the Chancellor should have done was to recognise the pitfalls of Brexit and the enormous damage that's done to the UK economy, and committed herself to getting a better deal with the European Union. What she should have done was to back investment into Scotland's key industries, whether that's our renewables sector or our existing world-class oil and gas sector. Instead, she's continued with the tax on Scotland's energy, which is costing 1,000 jobs a month, the deindustrialisation of Mossmoran and the deindustrialisation of Grangemouth. She's pushing Scotland's energy sector off of a cliff. Those are the things that I would have expected to have heard from her today, and instead what we got was an attempt to appease her own backbenchers, but a public which is wise enough to recognise the fact that the growth's going down, living standards are going to rise more slowly than expected, and their energy bills are still going to be going up.
You're speaking about investment there, and that obviously comes with either raising tax or cutting spending elsewhere. How would you raise the revenue essentially to afford those, what you say are key investments?
Well, the damage to the UK economy of leaving the European Union was greater than the damage inflicted by COVID. Multi-billion pound impact every year. So there's an opportunity there to get some growth, and some growth quickly. But when we're looking at both the whisky sector, which again has been hit in the budget, or the oil and gas sector, if you are sensible about your taxation levels, what you're actually going to do is increase the inward investment that comes, which is a benefit to the Treasury itself. And having 1,000 people out of work every month because they're losing their jobs, that's not good for any economy, but it's the reality of the impact of the policy decisions being made by this Chancellor.
Rachel Reeves would say that she had to make these, what she calls fair and reasonable decisions. And a big part of that is because the gilt markets and the speculation about how that will affect, or that will be affected, what she says. Do you think that the UK's fiscal policy is essentially set by the bond markets now?
Well, look, Rachel Reeves can and must take responsibility for her own actions. She's the one who chose to box herself in through her manifesto commitments, which were not necessary. People like myself were warning her in advance, very vocally prior to the election, that there was a multi-billion pound black hole, and the IFS were saying the same, that they were going to have to address, and yet they ignored those warnings, instead chose to box themselves in. They could have chosen to deviate from their manifesto last year, and they did not. Instead, they hammered businesses, which has directly impacted growth, which has meant there's less revenue in the Treasury itself. So they need to take ownership of their decisions. And I heard the Chancellor today who's unwilling to do that, who's tone deaf to the challenges that are facing so many people, particularly back home in Scotland, and to the reality that is biting people right across these aisles in terms of the cost of living crisis, because their energy bills are still going to be going up. The Chancellor told us all we should be happy that she's going to reduce them by £150 by April, but on her watch they'll have already gone up by £250 by April, contrary to the £300 reduction that she'd promised. So there's a £400 gap between her rhetoric and the reality hitting households, and people are wise to that, and that comes with political consequences for her and the Prime Minister.
And just last one for me, you just hinted it right there about the consequences consequences and perhaps the longevity of the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. Do you think this is last chance saloon now, or do you think it may already be too late for them?
The Scottish elections are going to carry an enormous amount of weight in that context. And for people back home in Scotland who recognise that this is the most unpopular Chancellor in post-war Britain, who recognise the unpopularity of the Prime Minister, their inability to deal with the key issues impacting individuals' lives, they have an opportunity in May to make sure that the Labour Party lose, the SNP wins, and a wee bonus of that will be that the Prime Minister will lose his job.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Good?
Yeah,
perfect.
Great.
Cheers, pal. Thank you. All the best. Yeah.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, buddy.
Have you?
So, yeah.
Experience.
Yeah. About there then? Yeah?
Camera to you, what do you want to do?
Just to me.
Yeah, sure thing.
Be sort of slightly off to the side. Yeah. We'll just get your name and title.
Sure. Steve Rigby, I'm the Chair of Family Business UK.
Yeah. So thanks for talking to us. Can you just give me your initial reaction to that budget statement?
Well, listen, 26 billion of tax rises is less than ideal. It's nearly a further 1% taxation. That said, I'm glad it's over and the speculation can stop. It's been a difficult few weeks, and in reality, it feels much more of a normal budget delivery day today rather than the extraordinary budget of last year, which was clearly so damaging for business. At least in a business perspective, we haven't got net new taxation, and we can hopefully try and stride forward in the economy.
Well, you just mentioned there all the speculation, and it seems like we knew a lot of what was going to be in the budget.
Especially half an hour before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Half an hour before. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, listen, mistakes happen. I feel sorry for someone who's about to get fired. If I'm honest with you, mistakes do happen. I don't think it's anything more Machiavellian than that. But, I think the trailing in of this budget, that cycle's got to stop. I know the Speaker made that comment at the start, but it's less than ideal to be trailing potential changes. Things like exit tax and wealth tax, it sticks in people's minds. Even if today they're not there, people are now thinking, is it next year? Is it the year after? Do I jump ship before these things happen? So I think we have to stop this speculation. There must be some lessons learned from what's been probably a really poor run up to this budget.
And you mentioned it possibly wasn't the worst budget that you could have expected.
Yeah.
In your eyes, what is a dream budget for you?
I think budgets should have an equal measure of carrots and sticks. How do we incentivise growth? Yes, clearly we have to have taxation, that's part of life, but ultimately they should balance. Growth is achieved often through optimism, through the economy moving, that increases the tax take in the long run. We've not had one of those budgets for some time now, and as business, we do need a tailwind. We need some environment where we're incentivised to try and reach for the stars and grow. I don't think we've got anything in this budget that allows us to do that, but what we can hopefully find is some stability. There are some signs of growth out there. We speak to a lot of businesses. Most businesses are quite confident about their own affairs, but not about the government's. We somehow need to break that cycle and try and find this elusive 1.5% growth.
And how does business basically broach that relationship? How do we get a situation where government and business are in lockstep and driving in the same direction?
I think if we're going to get growth in the economy, government have got to get out of the way a little bit. There's so much going on that's negative sentiment. How political was that statement today in the budget? Rather than being about the economy and the challenges that we face about the country, it was a deeply political statement today that was made on both sides of the House. I know it's politics, but nevertheless the country needs more sustainable government if we're going to succeed.
And just a bit of politics, last one for me. Are you happy with the Chancellor in post? I know there's lots of speculation that this possibly, if it goes badly, could be her last budget. What's your opinion on that?
For good or bad, we elected the Labour government into power. They've got 3.5 years to run. They should finish with the same leaders they elected into power. The last thing we need is another change of Chancellor or Prime Minister. We've tried that. We're 6 in so far on Prime Ministers in the last 9 years. The last thing the country needs is an Italian-style government.
Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Cheers.
LBC did say they were the MA News. Oh, did they say the rental?
Thanks a lot. Right, no problem. It's by your party. I'm nearly.
Front of this? Yeah.
At least there's no noise in the background now, Nick.
Yeah, for once. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll give it. They'll probably start again.
Once they've had their cup of coffee
Yeah.
or whatever it is that they're doing.
Oh, it's very cold though.
It is.
Yeah.
It's parky.
Yeah, and we'll just get your name and title just
Yep.
for sound check.
So I'm Darren Miller, leader of the Welsh Conservatives.
Great. So Darren, thanks for talking to us. Can I just get your initial reaction to that budget statement?
Well, look, this is the nightmare before Christmas. We've got taxes going up to unprecedented levels. Whether you're in work, whether you're a pensioner, a saver, an investor, or a business person, your taxes are going to increase, and that's to fund big increases in welfare spending and uncontrolled public expenditure too. So it's a really bad day for Britain, whether you're in Wales or any other part of the United Kingdom.
And quite a chaotic day as well, because obviously the ABR report got leaked an hour or two before the actual statement. What did you make of that?
It was an absolute shambles in terms of communication. Of course, not just today, but in the run-up today as well, with ideas, kites flown. 1 minute income tax rises are considered, the next minute they're chucked in the bin. I mean, this really has been chaos in recent months, and we've got to put an end to that, because that spooks the markets. It's not good for anybody in Britain when that happens.
Yeah, you spoke about the market there. It's obviously a big reason why Rachel Reeves had to put these taxes up, is because to create herself some fiscal headroom, as she describes it, to fit in with her fiscal rules. You don't want to see tax rises, but then how do you account for the whole of the budget?
Yeah, so she didn't have to put taxes up, and I think this is the important message. What she could have done was cut public spending, and of course the Conservatives have set out plans to cut £47 billion worth of public spending and to share the proceeds of those cuts in tax cuts with the public, as well as further investment and paying down the debt. So we've got to get that welfare bill under control. It's spiralled out of control under Labour over the past 18 months, and we've got to make sure that we get rid of that bloated civil service bureaucracy, reduce overseas spending as well. They're the sorts of ideas that can get us back on track and make sure that public finances work.
And just a Wales-specific question. Nathan Gill sentenced. What was your reaction to that? And you perform obviously really hot on your heels in Wales. Is this going to hamper that campaign? Do you think you can capitalise on that?
You know what? I was absolutely disgusted that a former member of the Welsh Parliament was convicted for reading out scripts on behalf of Russia in the European Parliament. I mean, it strikes at the heart of democracy, and as an elected politician myself, I can't think of anything worse than being a treasoner, committing treason against your country. But that, unfortunately, is what Nathan Gill appeared to do, and we need to make sure that we stop Russian interference in our politics over here in the United Kingdom, and that's what the Conservative Party is determined to ensure is the case in the future.
And just last one from me, the criticism gets made and will get made that the last budget, many budgets before, but Liz Truss mini budget was so chaotic and spun the markets. How do you recover from that, your credibility? The Conservatives have always had that vision as a sensible economic party, but that took a real hit. Do you think you've put enough distance between the party you are now and from that mini budget back in 2022?
Well, Rishi Sunak was the last Conservative Prime Minister. He got our economy back on track after that difficult period with COVID and with the invasion of Ukraine. And of course the economy was growing. It was growing by more than it's growing now as a result of the Labour budgets we've seen, the last two Labour budgets. That's the sort of British economy and conservatism that I support, is responsible public spending with taxes as low as they possibly can be in order to get our economy moving. So we're not seeing that at the moment. That's why we've got to get things back on track. And people in Wales will not be happy with today's budget. You're welcome. Good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Do you want one as well?
I look a bit serious.
Want to give us any tips, guys? Just get one plate. Lower one. Don't get one on that. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Go on. Thanks, guys. No worries. They know about me. Yeah, you will get busy.
glad things come to those who
Yes, so I was waiting for you to
Yeah, no, I'm
use
fine.
the credit card day.
No, hello.
Is it him?
Well, I'm fine.
Do you guys have like
Now, where do you want? I'm pretty much on the corner. On the corner. Standing on the corner. No, no, fine.
Do you, I mean, I'm yeah. We've got Gareth Davies.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Are you running all right? My name is Henry Bank. It's fair, it's good for families, it's good for public services. Families, because lifting the two-child cap will reduce child poverty in the market, executive office, pensions going up, wages going up, government funds, Northern Ireland, secondly, more money for public sector. Northern Ireland's already had £1.7 billion record spending for the summer, funded at need, and now an extra £370 million over 3 years. The Chancellor announced just now. And thirdly, good for businesses in particular, the package we've announced to support businesses who want to trade across the Irish to address some of the issues that they face because of the winter framework. Sorry? Well, sure, well, if you're going to provide additional money for you're spending it. The government and the Chancellor set out very clearly what her choices, what a Labour government's choices are. To be able to say the decisions taken on child benefit lifting that capacity, we see the biggest reduction in child poverty on record. You say something like what difference policy to lots of families and children. Growing up in poverty is absolutely no fault of theirs, which is why the introduction down by the demonstrate choices we make in policy. My pleasure. Yeah, I will. Well, I've got to do something else. Yeah, 16.6. And you recorded this? Oh, no, fine. Yeah, no, just to explain that will go on one-stop shop. We're going to use AI to enable you to say, I'm divert the really practical response to
You might give us 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
That's because I know him of old. Give us a break, Steve. Only for Mr. Ben. Okay, all right. I hope someone got that. Right. Yeah. I hope. Can you speak up with your questions? A, because of that, and B, because. Yeah, fine. My name is Hilary Benn, and I am the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. Yeah, fine.
Okay, great. Just first of all, thanks for talking to us. What is your initial reaction to that budget statement?
Well, I think it's a fair budget, and it's going to be really good news for families, for public services and businesses in Northern Ireland. Families, because getting rid of the 2-child benefit cap is going to reduce child poverty. The executive asked us to do that, and the Chancellor has responded. Pensions are going up, minimum wage is going up, and the government will fund a reduction in energy bills in Northern Ireland to help with the cost of living crisis. More money for public services. Northern Ireland's already had £1.7 billion extra in the last 2 years. Record spending settlement in the summer, being funded at need, and an additional £370 million that the Chancellor's just announced. And thirdly, a package to support companies that are trading between GB and Northern Ireland, one-stop shop, using AI to provide tailored advice, and also to support small companies who want to sell goods into Northern Ireland. And I think when you sum that up, it's good for innovation, it tackles the cost of living crisis, and no return to austerity. So it's a good budget.
Well, you say it's a good budget. It was quite a chaotic budget, and then there was lots of leaking throughout the past few weeks, months, and even today the ABR report got leaked an hour or two before the actual statement. What did you make of all of that?
Well, in a month or 6 months' time, people won't be remembering that. People who are on a higher minimum wage will see it was this government that made that difference. People whose pension has gone up will still be benefiting from that. Help with energy bills, more money for the executive. That's what matters. It's the content of the budget, and the judgment will be, has the government done something that's fair? All government is about making choices, and the Chancellor laid out very clearly the Labour choices this government's making.
And we've had some questions through from our team in Ireland, and they would like to ask you, we know that public services in Northern Ireland are under extreme pressure. What is there in this budget that will increase Stormont's spending power?
Well, an extra £370 million over the next 3 years, on top of the best funding settlement for Northern Ireland since devolution began, on top of being funded at need, on top of 1.7 billion extra that Northern Ireland's had over the last 2 years. Now, when you add that up, that is a significant amount of money. The choice for the executive is, what are our priorities? What are we going to spend it on? And if they want to raise extra money, as the Chancellor has just done in the budget, the choice is available to them. And I welcome the fact that the Finance Minister at the weekend said to his colleagues, we need to think about revenue raising.
And we say businesses in the area are already struggling, and now with further tax hikes and rise to minimum wage, is there concern that this is a disincentive for growth in Northern Ireland?
Well, the evidence doesn't show that. The Northern Ireland economy is growing well. It has the lowest unemployment, Northern Ireland, in the whole of the United Kingdom, and it has this unique advantage of dual market access. If you base yourself in Northern Ireland, you can sell to the whole of the European Union, you can sell to the rest of the United Kingdom. And increasingly firms are seeing the benefit that that provides, they're putting money in, and the economy is doing not bad. And that's really, really important. There's a huge amount of innovation, energy in Northern Ireland, and it has a very bright future.
And just last one from me, there's obviously been some speculation that if this budget didn't get a good reaction, then this one could perhaps be Rachel Reeves' last budget. Do you have full confidence in the Chancellor? Do you think she will last all the way up to the next election?
Yes and yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. I think you turned it back up.
Oh no, don't encourage him because I've got to do another interview. Okay?
Thanks so much.
All right, no, pleasure. Now what's next? Cool FM, okay. Thanks a lot.
So I looked on the website, Jesus, I could hardly believe it was true. At the limo coasting through Malibu, with Chiron inside. I don't know why you always come and go. The greatest night you never anyone know. But with 20 young years, every night I see the Chiron. But no one sees him from day to day. He's never there. Now Farage, he's Farage. Says he's living local, but really I don't know. Says his girlfriend bought the gap, but where'd she get to go? You believe that after 20 odd years of Farage's life? I don't know why he's doing always gotta go. The greatest guy is now anyone to know. Just for 20 odd years, every night you see the Farage. He's Farage. 20 odd years he was waiting for his chance to drag his ass to see what he keep his place back. Just what's good enough for us ain't good enough for him.
It is what it is, isn't it? let me know, because it's just the timing, isn't it? Who comes in? Yeah.
It was rhetorical. We all know it.
Oh, there. Sorry.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, it's bloody freezing. Although it feels better than it did this morning, I don't know. But what is going on out there?
I know. You can see Kinnet as well.
Oh, that's every day. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, we get 2 every day. Yeah, just going on.
Can I just get your name and title?
Gareth Davis, Shadow Financial Secretary.
Perfect. Gareth, can I just get your initial reaction to that budget statement?
So this was a budget which increased taxes by 26 billion to pay for more welfare spending. I think the public will rightly question the Labour government because they were told that this wouldn't happen. They were told that they wouldn't increase taxes, and yet we're here today with £66 billion more taxation.
And it's also quite a chaotic budget. The lead up, there were lots of leaks. We knew a lot of what was going to be in it, and even an hour or two before the ABR report got leaked. So what was your reaction being inside when all of that was going on?
So the run up to this budget, we had a series of leaks that the Speaker of the House of Commons has rightly ruled to be completely out of order. And that has created a lot of uncertainty in the economy. Remember, this is the latest budget that we've had for 30 years. So she kicked the can down the road, and that just created a lot of uncertainty. On top of that, we had a lot of kites being flown and a lot of measures being announced that were, effectively question marks for a lot of people out there. And then today, literally before the budget itself was announced, we had the whole budget, the whole document released to the public. I've never known anything like it. And it's right that an investigation is now underway.
And you spoke about the tax rises. The reason we think she's done this is essentially to create herself some fiscal headroom to not spook the bond markets. Do you think basic UK's fiscal policy is now being determined by the bond markets and not actually by the government?
Well, as a result of last year's budget, bond investors, in fact all investors, have been spooked, and confidence is at record lows and people are leaving the country. And so it is right that a Chancellor is mindful of markets, mindful of investors, because without investment capital we can't grow our economy. But I'm afraid today's budget is about raising taxes to pay for welfare spending. Welfare is going up by £9.3 billion. The two-child benefit cap is being scrapped. That's £3.5 billion. And then welfare spending overall is increasing with inflation. So be in no doubt, these tax rises are to placate the Labour Party backbenchers. It's a political decision by a very under fire Chancellor.
So how would you and your party have squared that circle? Which areas would you have been spending, or would you have found other creative ways of raising revenues?
So welfare spending is projected to now reach over 400 billion by the end of this Parliament. And we've been very clear that we have to see that come down. We have to take some difficult decisions to reduce welfare spending. We've set that out to the tune of £47 billion. And we would also grow the economy by reversing some of the damaging taxation that Rachel Reeves has imposed since she came to power. With a growing economy, you don't have to cut as much and you don't have to raise as much tax. So that's the principle of what we would do. Unfortunately, this government are raising taxes and raising spending and borrowing for welfare spending increases.
People do tend to have short memories in politics, but I think one thing that really stuck in people's minds was that mini budget under Liz Truss. Has your party created enough distance between that government and the government that you would like to be? And do you think you've regained their trust on the economy?
Well, look, we had a number of fiscal events in recent times led by Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak. Those were budgets that cut national insurance, if you remember, from 12 to 8%. A tax on work, which is national insurance, was cut under a Conservative government, and we started to bring debt down. And we did that through very difficult spending decisions, as I've said. We did, though, lose the election, and it's right that we now rebuild and represent the views of our constituents, for those of us who were returned. And our constituents are pretty angry right now because they were told by Labour that they wouldn't see tax rises, and today we've got, as I say, £26 billion of tax rises.
And just last one from me, obviously leading the polling is Reform. They have taken a lot of your voter base. They also announced that they had a proposed budget in a press conference last week. What did you make of that, and how do you separate yourself from Reform and present a different vision to the country?
Well, frankly, Reform are all over the place. They put forward to the general population and the general election last time in 2024 with £90 billion of tax cuts, which they have now dropped completely, entirely. And so I don't think they have much credibility when it comes to economic management. I don't think they can agree with themselves most of the time, let alone represent an economic alternative to what we can put forward, which is essentially a pro-growth, low taxation, government that would hopefully take over in 4 years' time. Under difficult circumstances, we don't know the economic situation we're going to inherit, but I'm confident that we can win back the trust that we so badly lost in 2024.
And how long will that take?
Well, the next general election is likely to be in 2029. We've got a long time to go until that election, and polls will come up and go down and do all sorts of things between now and then. But what we are doing is putting forward well thought out policies that will stand the test of time, that we hope to be able to execute if we can win that trust back in 4 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We always want to hold a budget, don't we? Hold a budget. Hello. Nice to see you. Very good. All right. God, you've got more footage than you could ever use, ever dream of. All right. Let's lose this. Right, you are. Any angles you've not covered and exhausted yourselves to death? You have done it all. You've done it all. Right. Yeah. Okay. Or business, or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, so it's Andrew Griffith, Shadow Business and Trade Secretary and the Member of Parliament for Arundel and South Downs.
Just bring these nice and close so we can hear you.
Really?
Look, it's a breach of trust budget. The Chancellor was extremely clear, both last year and at the election, that she would not be putting up income taxes, and yet that is exactly what's happened today. So that is not good for Westminster, for the standing of politicians. But more than that, business confidence, I'm Shadow Business Secretary, business confidence has been absolutely on the floor for months. And the businesses I've been speaking to since the budget have said there's not enough there to change that. People are going to still hunker down a bit. They're worried about the taxes that are coming, £26 billion of taxes that we heard today. And there's nothing going in the other direction that's likely to boost confidence.
So when you've been speaking to these businesses, what essentially is their shopping list of what they want to see?
Yeah. Well, depending on which business they are, they're worried about the changes to pensions, the salary sacrifice arrangements. They're still worried about the employment rights bill. We didn't hear anything about that today, but that's obviously going to put a lot more risk on employers. And then the minimum wage rises. While we all want higher wages for people, some of those increases in an already inflationary environment make it really hard to be a business that wants to hire and take a chance on young people.
And how do you assess the structure of the UK economy right now, and how attractive it is to invest in this country? When you see us, do you think we're doing well, or is it not?
Look, people are on their knees. I mean, we've had the longest run-up, the most shambolic budget process in history, and there's nothing in today's budget, I think, that's going to project vision, optimism, get the animal spirits flowing again, get people hiring. And so, quite disappointing in that respect. It didn't need to be that way, but unfortunately it is.
The accusation would be pointed at your party that some of these real structural issues like productivity problems, which the Conservatives didn't pump into the economy when they had the chance. How do you respond to that?
Well, listen, a year ago the Chancellor said she was all done. She'd balanced the books, she'd made her fiscal rules, she did tax people an enormous amount a year ago, and she promised she wouldn't come back for more. Nothing's really changed over the last year, other than she's burned through her own headroom with out-of-control public spending. So she can blame everyone for the Egyptians to the dinosaurs. The reality is we're back here again a year on from when she said that she'd brought stability and balanced the books. She clearly hasn't, which is why there's £26 billion more taxes heading for a household near you.
12 years is a lot longer than 1 year. You had a long time to really fix these issues. Productivity, we know, has been a problem for a long time. Why didn't the Conservatives really get on that?
The public finances were on a good track until they hit the speed bump of COVID, and then after that the war in Ukraine. And I'm certainly not sitting here saying everything in the economy changed on the 5th of July last year, but the reality is that last year's budget grabbed a record amount of public spending,
she said she'd balance the books. 1 year on, burnt through all of her headroom, coming back, taxing one of the highest ever tax raising budgets. Who's to say we're not back here in another year's time? And she's doing exactly the same, blaming everybody but herself.
And just last one for me, I think you sort of hinted there about the possible longevity of this Chancellor. People have said that if this goes wrong, this could be her last budget. What do you think is the likelihood of that?
Well, I think on behalf of businesses across the country and my constituents, I think they would hope this is the last budget. It's not about the personality, but you can't have a Chancellor who every year says she's done with raising taxes and then every year comes back for even more. Okay, thank you. If you could take the sound out of that, you're a better man than me.
Not knowing where I'm losing. £40 billion a year. The black hole of Brexit. Who's gonna pay for that then? Going rising. black hole of Brexit. Who's going to pay for that then? I simply wasn't right.
Yeah, sorry, it's Alex. I'm just, I work with Chancellor. Yeah, I just wanted to check. Are you still coming? Yes, yeah. Are you still running? Thousands of children, thousands of families. Third, fourth child now on the receipt basis. I think we have to remember I just wish we. Hello, is this John? I wish we had. Oh, Anthony, sorry, I thought I was calling you. Yes, George. I thought I was calling the LA.
Thank you very much. Cheers now.
And we're live at 7 on Channel 4.
So look, there are things that we do, but I think the way I would describe it is what happens. And one of the problems is I think is, well, what if the not much. And I actually think, what is our plan? We're 10 years time not being as exposed to what markets are paying. And I think what you're thinking of here is the fact that you've got two political parties, Conservative and Labour, have both in the last few weeks turned towards the overtly Thatcherite, deregulated, low tax, slashing public service. Oh, that's David. And the Labour Party just do their blue water and break that economy. And the way to do it isn't just by welfare, isn't just by having a complete assessment of taxes, but it's also by looking at the extraction scale. So we know that 450 million of your energy bill comes through on the average family energy bill. It's extraction. So the 30% is being taken out by private water companies that break the law and haven't invested and still want to make profit. If we don't deal with that, if we don't build millions of new campuses that people actually have a roof over them, a warm, affordable roof, not access, then we will never deal with the cost of the crisis. Now, this budget didn't say that there was going to be a fundamental break with this economic shock. That's what I think that people voted to change. They may not have always articulated that, but that's what we want. That's what they need. And I think the reason Andrew Burnham is making this flat, because if you look at what he's done in Manchester, he's crowded in, he's used public spending to build communities, to build council homes. He's talked about how you can take on the speculative price gaps. And I think quite critically, there's an increasing number of people who understand that if you're going to raise taxes, it doesn't make a difference how much you raise. If you don't deal with the other side of the equation, it's like running a barn. And I think that's the bit that's missing, and that's the bit that this budget may not be the place for that, but the Chancellor that direction of travel, that strategy that we're going to pursue. But as I said, this was a capital budget. This is good for the immediate term, good for my constituents who rely on benefits and not being used for benefits. Longer term, you still feel the law. Look, some people, because of their disability, may be made to join made by those people. Everyone wants to get good value for money. But I think, again, we probably will see and the point I made the last time we should be looking at structure, not the living prices we discussed. Also, since Margaret Thatcher came into power and sold off all those £180 billion worth of cash is now for privately rented. So there are no caps. It does feel like, and it does feel that there had to be some kind of balance. The fact of the matter is, with the labour party, we look after our class. People look after each other. People need to be able to get around, to function, get around in such a way. This is a luxury. Look, when you have one of the most unequal societies, there are broader shoulders. I want to see an expansion of wealth, an expansion of social care, an expansion of social housing. I don't want to see that realm contract. I want to see more universal basic services, not less. I want to see broader shoulders, the billionaires, the corporations paying more. I want to build a healthy, vibrant country where small and medium-sized businesses feel that they can invest, that they can contribute to the economy. At the moment, it's struggling. Those investors are part of the story about
No problem. Just set this up for you.
And the speaker's gone. I did my BBC and ITV interviews earlier when it was in full swing.
Yeah.
I'm always massively impressed with his speaker. It is
I know.
It's incredibly powerful and clear.
Can we just get your name and title for just a quick sound check?
Yep, Rhyn ap Iorwerth, leader of Plaid Cymru.
All good? Cool. So, thanks for talking to us. Can I just get your initial reaction to that budget statement?
Well, I think one of the most overwhelming feelings around the whole budget has been that of chaos, and the OBR leak just before the budget today seemed to put the icing on the cake. But when we look at what we had in that budget today, I look at it in three particular ways. One, there is nothing there, frankly, that deals with the underlying fairness of the way Wales is funded, which is very, very important to me and my party and the people we represent. Nothing to make up for lost billions of pounds in infrastructure spending and so on. I'm concerned that not enough has been done to tackle the cost of living crisis. We had some more measures that we would have liked to see, for example, on dealing with unfair standing charges for electricity, to cut much more on those costs that families are bearing. And thirdly, it's the dishonesty around measures relating to tax and the freezing now of that income tax threshold until 2031. That's going to hit people hard when we should have seen more innovative taxation measures around wealth taxes and so on. So this does not in any way deal with the issues that we needed to see being dealt with by the Chancellor today, and it's Labour failing Wales once again.
You mentioned there about the freezing of those income tax thresholds. They've said that this is meant to be a budget for working people. They said the government was meant to govern for working people. Seems like it's the opposite with that stealth tax. Is that how you see it?
Well, the OBR have concluded, very quickly that we are seeing two things happening around this budget. We are seeing a slowing down of an increase in standard of living, and we're seeing a slowing down in any increase in disposable household income. This is a budget that hits families hard. You hear members saying this is a budget for families. It is most definitely not. We are seeing a regression in terms of the pound in people's pockets, and we are seeing a dishonesty in the way that government has handled this, I think.
And tax rises obviously is a big component of this, and the Chancellor will argue that this is to create enough headroom to not risk spooking the markets. Do you fear that maybe the UK's fiscal policy is essentially run by the bond markets now?
I think it's very fair to come to that kind of conclusion, and Rachel Reeves speaks very, very proudly about having zero flexibility in her approach at all. But what happens with that kind of zero flexibility is that it hits ordinary working families hard. It holds back government's ability to invest in productivity. We've seen a scaling back of growth projections today. That is going to affect ordinary people. And there is room for flexibility. I think that's the bottom line. Carefully, cautiously, with a purpose, which is to allow investment, but that inflexibility is damaging to people.
And what is Plaid's sort of economic message to voters in Wales? How do you convince them to back your party and trust you with economic decisions?
Well, I think what we've seen today is that Labour doesn't get Wales. Labour in UK government working with Labour in Welsh government, and we need a new approach. And what we've seen time and time again on decisions affecting Wales is that Labour in Welsh government pull their punches. They won't stand up and actually demand what is necessary for Wales to allow a righting of the wrong on infrastructure investment, for example, giving us the powers to control our natural resources by devolving management of the Crown estate. Little measures that Labour in Wales is having zero influence on. We need that change now in leadership. Plaid Cymru is offering that leadership with a clear plan for the economy to get Wales going, because what we've seen in this budget today shows a government that just doesn't understand our needs as a nation.
And there's been a lot of conversation about Nathan Gill at the moment. He's been convicted. Reform contested you really closely in that last by-election. Obviously it's going to be a big competition that you've got between you and Reform. How do you convince voters not to go to them and to come to you, as most of it's most likely going to be a protest against the Labour government?
We are going through a period of very significant change in Welsh politics. The Welsh electorate is making it very, very clear that the old guards are being consigned to history. The Conservatives face an existential threat. Labour, as we saw in Caerphilly, are being punished for failing to stand up to the needs of the people of Wales. And what we saw in that by-election and what we're facing ahead of next May is a clear choice for people in Wales. It's the division and no plan whatsoever put forward by Reform, a party whose former leader has just been jailed for over a decade for taking Russian bribes. Or it's Plaid Cymru, that party with a positive vision focused on the needs of the people of Wales, with a positive message of hope that things can be done differently with new thinking and standing up for what our needs actually are. It's a stark choice, and my job is to build faith in that Plaid Cymru offer.
And just last one from me, it's interesting that you did get that result in Caerphilly, despite Reform arguably making a lot more noise than you did, and people were saying, the writing's on the wall here, but it did go your way. What is it that you were doing right that maybe people underestimated you there, and what do you think you continue to do in the future?
There's no doubt that Caerphilly was a big blow to Reform, as was seeing their former leader in Wales being jailed for 10.5 years for taking Russian bribes. I think people are waking up to the fact that we have here a party that is a real threat and that doesn't have plans for our communities either. And what people in Caerphilly saw was that in Plaid Cymru there was a positive alternative to that old guard which are now being consigned to history. Every sign is that throughout Wales people are warming to that alternative vision. Politics is changing forever throughout the UK. And what we saw in that by-election, which was very significantly timed just a few months before May, is that evidence of what the choices that people are facing, and the choice that they made in Caerphilly is one that I'm hoping that people will make on a Wales-wide level in May, because it's a stark choice with very different results for our country, depending which way people go.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
mae'n gweithio infrastructure bwysig, byddai'n gallu talu dan
Anthony?
Yeah.
Hello. Hi, hi.
Hiya, how are you? You right? John. Hiya, how are you? Where do you want me? It is called, I feel so. I've just come out, so at least I don't have to. Have you been here long, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Christ.
Actually, well, not as long as him. He's been.
I find it's the feet that get cold first,
Yeah,
actually, isn't it?
2 pairs of socks.
Ah.
That's the trick. When you've done enough of these.
Yeah.
So you just get your name and your title.
Sure. So my name is Ben Lake, and I'm the Member of Parliament for Ceredigion Preseli.
Great, and can I just get your initial reaction to that budget?
Yes, well, it was quite the chaotic build-up to the budget. We thought we'd seen it all in the briefings and the leaks, and then the OBR let slip the entire OBR report, which was quite the surprise. But in general, I think it's quite disappointing that there wasn't more of a focus on the cost of living. The OBR report revealed that actually real household incomes will grow slower now as a consequence of these budget measures, and the cost of living is still the biggest and foremost concern that constituents have. So I really was looking for more on that front.
You just mentioned that chaotic build-up there. Obviously, the ABR report getting leaked, unprecedented, never happened before. What was your reaction in the chamber like when people were sort of seeing that come out?
It was one of shock. I heard some colleagues say that this is unprecedented. I think there is, yes, an appreciation that it's not actually the government's fault. The OBR has admitted and acknowledged that it is a mistake on their part. Nevertheless, it did sort of play to this broader sense of things are not being under control, that there is a little bit of chaos here. So it wasn't helpful for the government, even if people in the chamber acknowledge that it's not actually their direct fault.
And you mentioned cost of living there. What specific measures did you want to see from today's budget?
I would really have liked to see even greater measures when it comes to energy bills. Energy bills will still be a lot higher next year now, despite the measures announced in the budget today, than they would have been, and certainly nowhere near the reductions that the Labour Party promised before getting into government. I think there could have been some immediate sort of short-term reliefs, for example, exempting domestic energy bills from VAT. That would have been a 5% cut, not revolutionary, transformational, but something. And also then perhaps a commitment to really look at energy bills in a more comprehensive manner. In Wales we still pay much higher standing charges than the rest of the UK, despite being a net energy exporter. So I would have liked to see greater immediate relief and also commitment for a more considered, comprehensive review for the future of the way that we price energy in this country.
So the Chancellor has taken these measures, raising tax, essentially to give herself more headroom to not speak the bond markets. How would you approach that? So you'd like to see some relief. That obviously would come with tax rises or spending cuts, or would you go a different direction? What would you do?
So I think we need to be clear that the government has increased taxes here, and although they've avoided actually increasing the headline rates of income tax, the freezing of the allowances and fiscal drag means that actually income tax is going up and people will feel the burden of taxation. And so I think on that point, if they were insistent on increasing income tax, they should have been far more explicit and open, because although many people might not initially realise that their income tax is going up, they will feel it in their pockets. And I think it's far better in terms of transparent government, responsible government, for the government to have just said, look, we need to increase income taxes. They decided not to do that and do it in a stealthy way, which I don't think is helpful for their own position, and neither is it conducive for a more appropriate and mature debate about how we pay for our public services, because I think there's a great appetite amongst the public for better resourced, better performing public services, but they've had for decades politicians say that you don't have to pay more taxes to get that improved public services. That is a fallacy, and political parties, of all persuasions, are now paying that price because people are very angry because they don't see that improvement in the public services. They're seeing their waiting lists increase. They're not finding that they are feeling better economically at the end of the month. So I would have preferred some transparency from the government, and if they'd identified income tax, as they so clearly did in terms of freezing the thresholds, just be out there, be honest with people, and put a penny on the income tax.
And there's obviously a bit of speculation about if this budget had gone badly or the market reacted, that she might not give another budget. Rachel Reeves, this might be her last one. To your mind, how did the people of Wales see this government and this Chancellor specifically?
I think there is a great deal of disillusionment in Wales, as I believe there is in other parts of the UK. I don't think it's personal against the Chancellor. I think it's more a reflection of the fact that people don't feel that there has been that positive change following the election last year. And I do worry that unless people do feel as though they are in a better position, that public services are better resourced, that the outcomes in that regard are improving, they will continue to be quite disappointed and some quarters quite angry that things aren't changing for the better. But as I say, I don't think it's something that's personal against the Chancellor. It's just that she occupies the position of in government, and a very influential one of that. Thank you very much. Great. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, Chancellor insisting she's raising taxes. On paper, no, but you would argue that she is actually, just in a different way.
Just moved it closer to
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been described as this smorgasbord of tax rises, dirty dozen, other than, just to raise taxes here and there.
You get to like more of that.
Thank you.